Hi everyone, it's Zara Altair with Actation Now, and this is the Midweek Zap. I want to welcome all of the Zapsters, and hello everyone, thanks for being here. And our special guest today is Mark Traphagen of Stone Temple Consulting. Mark is a marketing master, just a master. So Mark, welcome, and please introduce yourself for anyone who does not know who you are.
Enter and sign in, please, as we would say in our generation, right? That's an inside joke for some of us there. Hi, I'm Mark Traphagen. As introduced, my title is Senior Director of Online Marketing for Stone Temple Consulting. I'm in charge of basically marketing a marketing agency. So how more meta can you get than that? I manage a team that not only markets our agency, but uses that marketing as a lab. It's our laboratory for testing out things that we do with content marketing and social media marketing and all different forms of online marketing that not only, we hope, help us to increase our audience, our reach, our influence for Stone Temple Consulting, but also as a laboratory to experiment with what we do and teach our clients. So that is kind of what I do, other than hang out around this microphone a lot and certainly around these Google Plus environs.
That's really interesting. That I love experiments, so that must be very interesting doing all of those things. Before we get into today's topic, can you give us an example of one of those recent experiments?
Well, we do, it's on two levels. One thing, the public face of that is something that people who follow us are familiar with, and that is our big data studies. We're constantly, at any given time, we have anywhere from 2 to 5 different studies running, and just checking, taking big gulps of data of what's going on in line and then trying to analyze that. The most recent one that people may have seen came out last week, which was our study of over 500,000 Google Plus profiles, looking to see how many had any public content on them, public posting, and got a lot of discussion around that. So we do those types of studies. And then more subtly or internally, it's analyzing what works in terms of particularly a meld between our content and our social media experience. Watching and learning how to watch the analytics and what we call KPIs, key performance indicators, the numbers that we think are most important, what resonates with our audience, what gets response, what drives conversions for us, which, ultimate conversion for us right now is a client, but for our level of businesses that we work with, onboarding a client takes anywhere from 3 months to 1.5 years to 2 years. So that doesn't happen from a tweet, but conversion more in terms of, did the person come to our site and stay interested? Did they want to go see more content, or did they sign up, give us their email for our newsletter, something like that? But those are the kind of things we just watch, and we constantly watch that. What works, what doesn't work. We experiment with different formats of content. People that know us, again, see that's doing a lot of different things. Obviously, blog posts. Eric and I are both prolific writers, but also video, audio podcasts, slide decks, any different way that we can get the content out there and then watch what works with the audience and try to figure out why, which is the real important question.
And for those of you who don't know, Mark has a new podcast series on SoundCloud. It's just about 3 minutes max, and they come out 5 days a week. Is that right, Mark?
Yep, that's the goal. Monday through Friday.
They're just spot on.
I'm sorry, what?
You're spot on.
Well, you're kind. Actually, the truth is, that what is it? That Tim Ferriss diet that everybody's called the paleo diet. Everybody's crazy about. Part of the paleo diet is you get a cheat day once a week. I've had a couple of cheat days. In fact, this week, one day, because of home remodeling that we're doing, I was literally blocked. I could not get to my studio, my microphone. So I did a rerun, my first rerun, ever. But the goal is to get out every day, 3 to 4 minutes, just whatever I'm thinking about that day. And it's been a lot of fun to do. As I was telling Zara before the show, it's going to, I'm working on getting it up on iTunes right now so that it will be a real legitimate grown-up podcast that people can subscribe to and get every day. You can find it in my feed at Google Plus, and it's just called Traphagen's Daily Takeout. It usually comes out around 3 or 4 in the afternoon Eastern time. And soon you'll be able to, and you can subscribe to it now on SoundCloud if you're a SoundCloud user, or soon on iTunes and the Google Play Store. Thanks for the plug.
Oh, you're welcome. I've just been enjoying them so much, so
Thank you.
thought I'd mention that. So I think people are here today to talk about, prospects, and especially with all the research that you and your group do, about what it is that takes a prospect from being a prospect and gets them to stop wondering about your business and lead them down the path to becoming a client or customer.
Yeah, and I think you look like, from the way you wrote it, that you got the idea for the show from my Google Plus profile image.
I did.
Not from my smiling face image, but from the it'd be really perceptive if you got it from that. But from the bigger cover image of my Google Plus profile, and that was Dustin Stout grabbed that out. It was just something, one of those kind of phrases you toss off. I forget even if it was in a Hangout or where I said that, and he kind of grabbed it and said, "Ooh, that's good." And he made that quote graphic that now. And then I said, "Oh man, could you make that into a cover image size so you could see it there?" But it's just kind of my statement that you have to go beyond trying to appeal what you think your prospects want to educating your I'm not getting the exact words here, but it's something that line of educating your prospects to what they should be thinking about. And I believe, is that right? Was that the launch for what
right. And it was and I love the word wonder, get them to stop wondering what it is that you do. And it really has to do with education.
Yeah. And there, I want to be clear right off the bat here that yes, part of that is educating prospects about who you are and what your business is. But I'm really not talking primarily about that. That should come along the way as you build affinity and curiosity. But I'm talking primarily about literal education. And that, how that's applied depends on the type of business that you are. But there's a way that you provide something that is useful, helpful, or for some brands, just plain entertaining to your prospects, that engages them, that makes them want to think more about you, maybe want to hear more about you, want to get to know you and your brand. And you begin to open up the opportunities that we'll talk about throughout this show.
So so it doesn't matter what medium you're using so much as piquing curiosity. Would that be a good way to say it? That they want to know more about you because whatever it is that you put out, whether it's 3 minutes on SoundCloud or a blog post or a series of blog posts, it's like, oh look, he did it again. I want to see what he did this time. That's the kind of thing that you're saying you want people to do.
Yeah, that it's content, begins to become content that they begin to identify with your brand. For some people, in some cases, that's going to be a personal brand. In other cases, it's going to be the company brand. Or in the case of a personal brand, as I like to talk about more and more, I'm thinking in terms of this concept, what I call personal brand representatives, where you have real people who are out there engaging with their audience, building their own audience, their own authority, their own likability, their own affinities to people, that because anybody who starts to get to know them is going to come to know that they're associated with a certain company, a certain brand, and they want to dig in deeper than that. And I can tell you, and I tend to talk, I'm trying to make it as general as possible. I tend to talk a lot in terms of expertise because our own business is a knowledge-based business. And so that's our product. The only product we have is knowledge. So what we try to display out there is some of our knowledge. That's what we give away. I've said many times recently that to me, that's like, you go into a Costco or a big store like that, and they always have the people out giving the free samples. And obviously the idea is there, you taste that little thing on the end of the toothpick and think, ooh, that's good. How much is that? You want to buy some of that. So for us, our free samples are the knowledge that we give away.
We have a question from Midweek, and he says, as a consultant, how does one draw a line between educating the prospects and stopping oneself from giving away freebies until they become a client and start paying?
Yeah, that's the question, you always get when you're talking about this sort of thing, when you're talking about giving away knowledge in particular as a consultant, because again, that's the only thing that you have to sell. So I know that it strikes a lot of people in that kind of industry as maybe odd, or even gives them a little bit of the chills to think like, wait, you're asking me to give away what I charge people for. My response to that is, I think you have to decide if you really are good at what you do and you develop, like, you're not just selling a commodity, but you have a high level of expertise, you have a lot to offer. What we've found, and I want to be cautious about this because I don't think this is true necessarily for everybody, but in general, we don't worry about it. Eric and I never worry about, have we given away too much of the secret sauce? Because even if we are giving away a lot, the prospects that we're after, and this comes as part of the process that we need to talk about here, is you have to understand who your prospects are, who your customers are, and we understand that there are people that, even though they could go and maybe read like 7 or 8 of Eric's blog posts and figure out okay, that's how you do this thing, and I could do that. Yeah, I could do that, but I don't need to just do that. I don't need to do that one thing, or I don't have time to do that one thing. I need people who can do it for me and help me to do it. And so, it's never been a problem for us. Now, I think, I don't want to be glib about that, because I think for a lot of people, if you're especially a solopreneur, you can get asked, and there will be people who try to drain your time. And I know that's what Vivek is referring to. Somebody will start private messaging you and they want, say you're a lawyer, and they want all kinds of legal advice. And, I've had situations like that where I've, had somebody, my principle is I try to help anybody that I can. But at a certain point, if a person is digging a little bit deeper, I will be honest with them and I'll say, look, I can't continue to, me trying to give away little tidbits to you is not going to help you. You need professional help. If I was a psychologist and said that, I'd probably be insulting them, but you need professional help, and that might be your level. Now, typically, I'm going to find that a lot of times those people, again, our clients are enterprise level, major brands, big businesses. They are not the kind of, they don't do that. They don't come and pick away at us and say, like, tell me to do this, tell me to do that. Typically, it's going to be small business people, and I'm glad to help them. But what I'll say is, I'll try to refer them to somebody and say, look, you need an expert to help you deep with this. Somebody can go deep into your own personal situation. Here's a few people that I know who might be able to help you. But the overall principle is, I think you almost can't give away. And the more you give away, and this is going to sound like some kind of, woozy spiritual thing. And I don't mean it like that. I think it's very practical. If you really know your stuff, and if you can do things for people that they can't do for themselves, then you almost can't give away too much.
I think that is so true. I just think that's true because, for the little nitpicky questions, maybe yes, you call a limit on it for a solopreneur. But as far as the information that you put out to the public, you can't give away too much.
You got to, and that's, how do you differentiate? That's the problem. Because I used to do this. Here's an example that I like to give. years ago, I used to manage AdWords, which are the ads, the little ads that you see at the top and along the side on Google search, right? And if you ever really look at an AdWords ad, it's very compressed. You have 3 lines of customizable text, and the character limits on those lines it's extremely tight. You think constructing a tweet is hard. Try constructing an AdWords ad. So basically, you almost have no room. You can't get into any deep detail. So you've just got to say like we're I'm the best divorce attorney in San Francisco. And then you look down the ads and like they all say best divorce attorney in San Francisco.
Exactly.
So you're supposed to choose from that. What is that supposed to say? The magic of content is you can go deeper, and you can display, like everybody says, I'm the best. I'm the most, most reasonable, the most experienced, just adjectives don't mean anything to anybody anymore. Content is your opportunity to display to people, put on display that we know what we're doing. And I know it works. Now, I don't need, most of who I follow are people in the same businesses I'm in. So I don't need their services generally, but, I follow SEOs and social media experts and things like that. And if I had to, like tomorrow, I had to say like, okay, you need to hire an SEO agency. I know already who I would hire. Now, how do I know who that is? I can tell you right away. It's the people who have just blown me away with their online content and the help in their engagement with me that they've given and their knowledge and expertise. That's who I'm going to go to. That's the only way I know who's got the stuff.
I could totally agree. And then Ben Fisher had a couple of comments that just augment what you've been saying. First, he said, give away value that is not related to your business, helps build expertise. And also, he says, not to mention, you can give all the freebie advice you want, but the percent that can execute on it is very low.
That's very true, Ben. We both know that very well in our business. Not only the percent that can, but the percent that will. That's the biggest thing. It's amazing me. People they spend thousands of dollars to travel to conferences and take copious notes, but how many of those people, I wonder, ever do anything with all that, actually execute on it? And again, I want to be careful not to make this all about our bit, because there's so many different kinds of businesses. But in a consulting type of business, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people hire consultants not just because of their expertise and knowledge, but because they just need somebody to get them in motion. You need somebody to say, like, it's like coaching, right? It's like you could do fitness on your own, but a lot of people are serious about it. They hire a coach. Why do they hire the coach? Partly because of the coach's expertise. Hopefully the coach knows what she's doing and how to advise you on the right things that won't hurt you and that will be the best for you. But the real reason you hire a coach is just have somebody there to motivate you to say, okay, we got to get going. Let's get, 5 more reps. Come on, you can do it. And I think consultants do that for their clients a lot too.
I think they do. I know I find that with my clients. And then Tim Sweeney had a comment. He said he has a question about how to cultivate prospects that are misinformed. For example, they've been told Facebook likes are a key metric. In some cases, they have advisors misadvising them of this.
Tim, that is such a great question, because that is an opportunity. That's at the heart, because there's different aspects when I talk about educating your prospects. That's part of what I mean, and it's a way of doing it that's not negative. I don't know how many of you saw the story. It came out yesterday that it was on Salon, got passed around a lot, about the I'm going to blank on what it's called, the music device that Jay-Z brought out with great fanfare a few weeks ago. He came with his own kind of iPod, or not device, but service, kind of like a competitor to Spotify and Pandora and those things. And I'm just totally blank. Somebody in the audience will know what it was. But he brought this thing with great, but their pitch for it, and it's an expensive service, was, we give more to the artists than Spotify does. There's a lot of news out there that Spotify, for instance, and Pandora give very tiny little royalties to the artists who work for them. So their whole pitch was, we give more, which is, that's a very great positive pitch. But who did they have on the stage? You know, it was him and it's Beyonce and it's all these incredibly wealthy artists. And the message that apparently came across was, you know, why do I care about Beyonce getting more money or Jay-Z getting more money? They don't need more money. And what happened, what was interesting, this article came out yesterday, was that while this app hit the app store, the iTunes app store at the top, and then rapidly dropped off, and it's not even in the top 400 apps in its category anymore. Whereas Spotify and Pandora, for the first time in years, both jumped up to the tops of their categories. You know, and the conjecture here is that it backfired. The negativity backfired on them. How does that relate to Tim's question? It's this: that when you're creating authoritative content, if I can show somebody through my content and through my studies, my data, whatever it is, in this case, that Facebook likes are not really a good business metric, they don't really reflect something that's of value to your business, then I haven't had to attack that other person. It's not like I'm going in and saying, you know, oh, that, you know, your current consultant is blowing smoke. You know, they don't know anything, or must be an idiot. You don't have to be negative. I can just say, like, look, here's the facts. And, you know, there's going to be some people out there that are going to be smart enough to say, like, you know what, we need to switch to you. And I think that's where the value of, again, you know, positively educating comes in. You can raise, without attacking anybody, you can raise that question in people's minds. Maybe the stuff that I've been believing isn't so true, and maybe I ought to hire this guy who actually has data to back it up and actually has reasons for what he's saying.
I think that's so true. And I know from my past experience in the financial industry, when I would meet with potential clients for the first time and they'd had a financial advisor who had pretty much screwed them over, you know, and that professionally, that is exactly what you do. You don't talk about that other person. You talk about the results they want, and how we can strategize to put together a better balance in their financial investments or whatever it is that we're doing.
Absolutely. I used to be, years ago, I used to be in sales.
Never badmouth somebody else, because it backfires.
It's one of the most fun. I was saying years ago, I used to be in sales, and any sales course I took, it was one of the first things they told you was never badmouth the competition. Now, if you can get the prospect to badmouth the competition, let the prospect talk all the trash talk he or she wants, but you keep it on the positive. You keep it on, here's what we do. Here's why we know this works.
It's just so true. And then Glenn Jewett had a comment. He said, I find that the initial contact should gently probe what the client thinks is the way forward. Sometimes that's where the education starts, correcting a misconception.
Glenn, that is so incredibly wise, and that's definitely a part of this process, both for you turn it in terms of clients. That is very important. Again, if you have a client-based business, we call that onboarding. When you're onboarding the client, first bringing them on, the questions that you ask are critical at that point. If you ever hire a consultant and that consultant just from day one begins saying, like, okay, you need to do this and this and this, you may have made a mistake, because that consultant should be spending, a lot of the upfront time finding out what you think. And that's what Glenn said was just so good, because not only learning about the client's business, which is you should be doing, but figuring out what beliefs does the client have, because we all run on our beliefs. And if you don't know that, if you can ask probing questions that uncover the belief system, like the previous example from Tim, where the client believes, Facebook likes, that's the metric we ought to be looking at. Now you've uncovered a belief system, and okay, we got some fundamentals to to deal with here before we do anything about practical changes to your social media or something like that. Great point.
And Glenn had another comment, and that is They don't execute because they fail to grasp the time element. A free tip may sound simple, but execution inevitably takes more time than they anticipated, and it goes further back among priorities.
That's very true, Glenn. And part of it, part of me saying this almost glibly may be unfair because we know, and we've spent years examining who are our clients, why did they become clients, which I think is important questions. If you're a marketer or salesperson, you need to know that. Anybody who's your customer, why did they become your customer? But armed with that knowledge, you go out and say, that's why we feel very secure about giving away as much knowledge as we do, because we know the type of people who will become good customers for us, customers that we want to have around for years and years, are people who will understand that. They get the value of that. They look at it and say, like, okay, this is cool. I understand what Eric is saying here. I understand we need to do this, but there's no way. you know, um, I don't have the time. I've got other duties, but I need this done. So I'm going to hire these guys to help me do it.
And then Tim Sweeney just says, "Smart Traphagen, thanks for the factual approach idea."
You're welcome, Tim. Thanks for your leading into that. It was a great prompting. Appreciate it.
That was a great question. Let's take this down. And then Wake has another question.
Okay.
Whoops, I can't get this up. Here we go. When one puts forth why they are doing what they do, it needs to be believable. Otherwise, the credibility takes a nosedive. I agree, Mark.
Vic, so very true. Absolutely. And that's, we haven't even talked about that because we've been talking about content, which is something fairly static. But, anybody that knows me knows that I am a firm believer that you can never ignore the human side of things. And so credibility is obviously, there has to be some there. There has to be something, substance to the content. There has to be something backing it up. But I think it's also a human thing. And that's where the magic of social media comes in. That's why we're such believers in social media, because it provides the opportunity to get out there and make personal connections with people, even at the level of reaching out to, again, our business is at the level of major brands, big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies that you would know. It's still a human decision. It's still a decision, not just, okay, Stone Temple Consulting is smart. They know their stuff. They've got good data. Awesome. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's partly too because I like these guys. I feel like I could work with them. I trust them. So its credibility is both sides of that, and you've got to be aware of that.
That's a very important point, and I think it has, in David Amerlin's recent book, SEO Help, something that is mentioned a lot is that person. It goes back to, the old sales thing about, people buy from the person.
Yeah.
And that creating that presence and dispensing that information really helps build, you're putting out value, and it builds that trust that actually is eventually what happens to bring the sale. And then Glenn Jewett had another comment. He says, the first dozen things you say should be questions, not statements.
That's probably true in any relationship, Glenn. Yeah, certainly in a business one. And, backing up to, because the real topic of this show is about, educating prospects. Yes, definitely do that in the onboarding or the beginning of a relationship with a customer. But you can be doing that way back in the customer journey, with prospecting, with people that you interact with online in particular, or who come and comment on your blog post or whatever it might be. Responding to them, obviously, trying to answer and help them, but respond back with questions that might help you understand a little bit more about where is this coming from? Why is this a problem for you? What pain point? Now, that may not open up anything to a particular, customer relationship with that person, But a lot of times when you do that, you're going to learn things. And this is, I think, a good marketer is always paying attention and listening and saying, what can I learn from people out there that I may not be seeing? But this is you have these aha moments where, wow, people, this is a pain point. This is what people are looking for an answer. I didn't even know they're looking for an answer. Now I can investigate that. I can figure that out. I can get an answer for it. I can produce content around that. I can connect with people, and bam, now I'm hitting on something that other people are popping up and say, oh yeah, man, I've been wondering about that for years. And you didn't even know it was a question until you ask it. You ask and you find out. So there's a two-way educational process here during the whole journey. And it is a journey from prospect who just this morning saw a tweet or a Facebook post from you for the first time ever. They don't know you from anybody, all the way to them becoming a loyal customer. There is a two-way educational process. You're educating them, and you're providing different kinds of educational moments along the whole journey that draw them in. But you're also being educated. If you're smart, you're learning from these experiences and these interactions that are out there to know what you need to be giving that people need more of.
That's a personal education, and things change. I mean, everything changes. And so, being stuck someplace, even whatever you learned a year ago or 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago, there can be refinements. And so learning is part of, I think, our responsibility as consultants to stay up to date and to help people become aware of the changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's number one. You got to be, I'm always saying that. I always remember an old saying that a teacher said to me years ago, and that was, those who will not read will not lead. And I think you can read in the word reading, just be educated. Be kept up on what's happening in your business, in your industry. Get ahead of the curve. Very important.
Yeah, and then Midweek has another comment. He says, every champion, expert, sports person who is excellent at his or her role make it look very simple to do. But the normal person will find it so hard to do because they don't have the expertise that expert has. Simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication.
Yeah, you make it exactly. That is so perceptive, Vivek. That's what great athletes do, right? They make it look easy, and of course it's not. And the perceptive person gets the story pretty quickly. Like, that's not easy to do that. But here's the analogy. What I might do. Okay, I see what this athlete does. I want to get something like that. How do I get there? Maybe I'm going to research and find out. Well, who's that athlete's coach? Or what system did they use? And maybe that's, I want to hire that coach or get involved with that system. That's one thing that might be an analogy to what we do here that leads that over.
Right. And that, I mean, just the existence of the Midweek Zap is to help people stay up to date with things that are going on, because things do change. And I think the more we all know, the better we can help our clients.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's just that simple. So Glenn Jewett says applause, Mark. And then
back at you, Glenn.
And then Kristen Drysdale has a great comment. She says, listening is the most economical skill one can acquire.
Oh, I like that. And I like that use of the word economical. That's a very rich word because we tend to think of it, and let us know if I'm misinterpreting you here, Kristen. I don't want to misinterpret you, but we tend to think economical meaning almost like stingy, but economy, because in the Greek economos, comes from a Greek word that means just household, the managing of a household. And it's, to be economical is to be wise about managing. And yes, I agree, Kristen, that's, learning is a wise thing to do with your time. It always pays back manyfold the time that you put into it. It's profitable. There's another word we could use.
Oh, there you go. Profitable listening.
For the capitalists out there.
Yeah. And Mark, we're coming to the end of our time here, and I wondered if there were some last words that, I know it went quickly, if there were some last words you'd like to share with everyone to sort of round it out.
I think, you as a marketer for your business, you need to see yourself, at least part of your role, as an educator, and think about how that works at every step of the journey. Again, this is so important to visualize that, anybody who becomes a customer, for most businesses, it didn't happen overnight. And depending on the business, the journey will be, could be very few steps, and as little as a few hours. In other businesses, it can be days, months, or years. Doesn't matter. It's still a journey that brings them to you. And so in your content, in your social engagements, are you thinking about what are you doing at every stage to provide? There's got to be some things that you're putting out there that just catch attention. That's for the early people, the people who don't even know who you are yet. Okay. And that are maybe very simple, very 101 kind of stuff, but helps them at that level, and at least gets them on board, gets their attention to you. And then you get more and more specific with the content and the help that you give, until you get to that, level of content that closes the deal and says, boom, nobody knows us like these people do. And again, people have to, I'm sorry, I've been trying not to, but so much of this is oriented toward consulting or knowledge types of businesses. But I hope people can make the leaps or make the analogies over to whatever kind of business or that they're trying to do. If you have products that you make and sell, whatever it is, there are analogies that you can take over that. So just think that through. You are the educator, and that doesn't end when if you're a business that needs to have long-term customers, you want long lifespans for your customers. That education process doesn't end the day that they sign up or the day they make their first purchase. In some ways, it's just beginning. And that's one of the ways that you serve and that you build loyalty, by taking in, learning, and then giving out continually.
Mark, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today and all your wisdom. You truly provide wisdom. No, you do. And it gives us a lot to think about. I know William Rock, I've lost the comment, but somewhere in here, he's just like, there's so much in here that he's just listening. And you provide a lot of value, especially for the audience here. We're mostly solopreneurs or very small businesses, on how to go about, I don't know, I think the word would be relating to those prospects, and to continue that on as they become customers. I really liked your conclusion, because it was about, carrying them on and carrying forward. It doesn't just, it actually in some ways starts at that first sale, and then the education process continues, and that's one of the ways that you build the value to your business. It was just a really wonderful, wonderful discussion today. I want to thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Zara. You're very sweet. This was fun. It was, in particular, I was looking, in the green room beforehand. We were looking through the people who were signed in, and it just, I told Zara, just brought a smile to my face, because I see so many friendly and well-known faces back from when Eric and I used to do a regular show. And see a lot of those people that I've missed interacting with in this way. So that's great. And, a few, Glenn and Tim, just meeting them today was awesome. So really appreciate everybody. I know this is a big chunk of time to take out of your week, and I hope that we really did give you some value. Thank you, Zara. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark. And thank you, Zapsters. Thanks for all the comments and questions. As always, just a terrific audience, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.